Well, turn to someone and say, Happy 4th of July. It is a great weekend to celebrate, and there are a lot of people who are already doing so. Started all kinds of festivities, vacation trips to honor the wonderful liberation and freedom we experience in this country. You know, our nation was formed by people who were decision makers. They made some clear-cut decisions for a vision of freedom, equality for all, and the opportunity for the pursuit of happiness. They made some pretty decisive decisions as they created this revolution that created America as a nation. The whole process of these early colonists deciding to cut ties with the motherland was a bit scary, I can imagine, for some, because you were used to doing things a certain way. Living attachments to the motherland, to England. To have to make this kind of decision meant and it required something that was deep within their heart. There was a passion and an inspiration for this decision making. Often doesn't come easy unless it comes from some source within. And today, we're talking just about that. The opportunity to have the power of making decisions. We're calling it living the barefoot spiritual life. Living the barefoot spiritual life. Hang on, we're going to not invite you all to take your shoes off just yet. But we're going to explain what that means in symbolism for our lives. What it might mean to live a barefoot life, walking without those sandals, shoes, heels, whatever it may be, tennis shoes or sports shoes, dress shoes, slip-ons or ties, whatever it may be. But to live that barefoot spiritual life. Well, one of our greatest challenges in this world is learning how to deal with the decision-making process. How to work through the process of making decisions in our life. A lot of people are afraid to make decisions. How many of you have had some big decisions in life that you faced and you were afraid? Let's see a show of hands here. You faced some challenges and you're wondering, did I make the right decision? Did I do the right thing? That decision-making process can often be a source of stress, worry, cause for mental and maybe even physical pain in the process. Today, there's a spiritual truth offering us an understanding of decision-making being made easy for our lives. So we're going to go to God in this moment. Would you bow your heads with me as we just center our hearts once again in a sense of real clarity. Divine presence is in this room. That divine presence is moving in such a sweet, sweet way. And as we center our thoughts and our minds right here and now, we seek a clarity, we seek an understanding, we seek that which is wisdom from on high that will enable us to live what is called a barefoot spiritual life. One that is truly discovering the ability to make these decisions, godly decisions, in a right manner for our lives. So we welcome now the unfolding of this truth in a fresh new way. We receive it now as our minds are clear and ready, eager to learn. We thank you for it all. As together we say, and so it is. There is an understanding of an inner divine guidance at work in our lives, and we're going to talk about it as we see it illustrated through our text that we read today in Exodus chapter 3. It may be a familiar story to some of you, unfamiliar to others. And that is the story of Moses. We understand, to give a little background as we pull all the pieces together, that he was a little baby, born of a Hebrew family, but yet in a time of great oppression, he was placed in a basket by his mother and set adrift in a river stream, only because there had been a decree that the firstborn of all the Hebrew children should be slaughtered. And a mother's love brought about this action. Was a mother's love that said, let me set my child free. Maybe someone will find this child, nurture it, and care for it. Let it be spared this destiny of this wrath of the Pharaoh's fear of the Hebrew population growing to be too strong. So it was that Pharaoh's daughter was at the river's edge and found this simple reed basket floating in the water, and there a baby, and taking the baby into the Pharaoh's palace, adopting the child, but looking for someone to be a nursemaid, welcomed Moses' mother. Unbeknownst to not really realizing and understanding, it was Moses' mother then who would nurture and care for Moses. and instill with him an understanding that although he lived in an Egyptian world, he was truly still a Hebrew child. Growing up in the palace, he was afforded all kinds of wisdom and insight, all kinds of opportunity. Oh, can you imagine the greatness of the Egyptian culture afforded to Moses in the educational process? He was one who was truly groomed to be a great leader. Yet as time went on, he found that there was injustice in his world. There was a Hebrew who was working as a slave, and an Egyptian seeing him and punishing him, whipping, beating him. And in that act rose up within Moses a desire for justice. And in his anger, he killed the Egyptian. Frightened and afraid, he fled, for he feared that the Pharaoh would punish him. Him being a Hebrew, he being a Hebrew child, and that what this really would mean, that the Pharaoh said, no, you too must live in this world of tit for tat, of punishment for that which you brought upon the world. He went to the desert, and there in the desert he became a shepherd. And in this story, it unfolds in this context of this desert lifestyle Moses is living. Having left the grandeur of the palace to live in the simplicity of the desert, you can imagine the sharp contrast. And there is a shepherd in the stillness and the quietness, away from all the busy life of the Egyptian palaces, the Egyptian capital city, and the cultural activities of Egyptian life. He's all alone. You know one thing? Shepherds have a lot of time on their hands, and they can do a lot of contemplation. There's a lot of opportunity for them to think because they're out in the wilderness all alone. There's not a lot of TV, there's not a lot of radio, there's not a lot of activity going on in those days in that world. There wasn't a lot of noise. All alone in the desert. It's time to think, to contemplate. Let me tell you, there's a wonderful thing that can happen in our lives when we afford ourselves the gift of silence, the gift of quiet, and the opportunity to contemplate, to really think, to meditate, to reflect. To think about our lives and everything that's transpired in the journey of our living, everything that's unfolded for us, good, bad, indifferent, whatever it may be. But to have this moment to reflect on these experiences. It's there as Moses is thinking, I'm Hebrew. I was there, gifted with the opportunity of all of Pharaoh's knowledge, all of the gifts of the Egyptian culture. I had this great opportunity. Did I squander it? As I've left now and here I am out in the desert. I can imagine his struggle to think about leaving behind his Hebrew brothers and sisters who are still in bondage. You can imagine the thoughts going through his mind and thinking, someone needs to set them free. Someone. It's then all of a sudden, in the midst of the desert, he views a burning bush. He sees there a light that is shining almost. And the scripture says, and there the angel of the Lord appeared for him in flames of fire within a bush. Now here's our struggle in the day-to-day journey of reading the Bible. Sometimes we get so literal, so we're picturing a flaming bush that is never consumed, and we're visualizing this, and yet we don't understand the beautiful poetry, metaphorical symbolism of ancient writers trying to describe a spiritual experience. I don't know about you, but if you've had some spiritual experiences with God that are so dynamic in today's world, sometimes you have a hard time explaining to your friends. You have a hard time really saying, I gotta tell you, this is what it was like. And so sometimes you have to use some metaphors. And sometimes you have to use some symbols. Sometimes you have to describe the feelings of what's going on in your life in ways that are just saying, well, picture this. Here we find as the text unfolds for us in the story, the angel of the Lord appeared. Well, what is this thing called an angel? Because we find it throughout the Bible quite often. And the angel of the Lord is quite often depicted as saying that this is the energy of inspiration. It's pure. And how do we picture it? But we picture it sort of in white robes. And we give it a visual, a symbol, and describe it as having wings, as if flying into thought or into mind, coming into presence, coming into our thinking, our consciousness. Oh, they are divine angels, but sometimes we get so caught up in thinking that there's going to be a physical experience of an angel coming in white robes with great big wings, glowing and appearing in our home, maybe announcing that we're going to have a baby, or maybe announcing that something's going to happen in our lives. And I have had so many people down through the years say, Pastor, I would love to have an angelic experience. I want to see an angel. So they've gone on angel hunts. Yes. There's been a group who said, we're going to go out and we're going to look for angels. We're going to compare. We're going to seek angels. We're going to pray until an angel is revealed. We want to see this white-robed being with wings landing down, coming down, floating in from heaven on high, and coming down and resting by our side. And they're thinking, what? And I'm saying, wait a minute. We're missing the point here. That angel of the Lord, that which is sovereign over our lives, is our consciousness. Right? All of our thinking, all that we are aware of is what leads and guides and directs our lives. We say the Lord is our shepherd, that consciousness is our shepherd. That's what God really is. This full awareness and awakening of the divine presence in our life, that's what leads and guides us. Excuse me. So it is that the angel of the Lord is this wonderful inspiration that came to so many biblical characters. You would think, wow, every time you told a story there was an angel appearing. How come in our stories today, the story of, Chris and Vivi meeting together and finding each other and falling in love. Where's the angel? There she is. There she is, Chris. I got to point her out. If you haven't seen her already, she's there. All right, give her a round of applause. But we're looking for this angel in our lives. Looking for a role in some literal way, but here it is all along. It's this wonderful divine inspiration. This is how the ancients described it in the scriptures quite often. So in here is that sometimes we struggle with the angels can be those that guide us, that inspiration. Angels can be that which inspires us, that inspiration. That protects us, that leads us and guides us, that gives us wisdom, that empower us. And often, like some take this in today's world, not white or not red winged or whatever in the symbolism, but maybe in your next door neighbor, or the person who stops and helps you along the road. I don't know about you. Have you ever had a moment where you ran out of gas? Not having a gas can, wondering what you're going to do, and you're miles away from any kind of help and assistance. And somehow out of the clear blue, someone arrives to assist you, and you say, wow, you are an angel. Yeah. Inspired. That which you've sought for, drawn to you in this wonderful way. That angelic presence of assistance is there. Now Moses is out there in the desert, and here he is having this wonderful inspiration, this wonderful thought processes at work within his life as he's contemplating. And there it is, the angel of the Lord, or that inspiration speaks to him in a powerful way. It's a bush that is symbolized there, a bush on fire that didn't burn up. You know what that really is for us? It's that burning inspiration that's with us, that's always there but never goes away. It's that symbolic thing describing that which comes to our lives, that you've had an inspiration, an idea, a moment that, I've had this idea for years. People say to me, I had a great idea and it hasn't gone away, and I still, for 20 years I've been thinking of this. It's that inspiration that's been there. I have to say this. 16 years ago, I had a vision that we would one day put a beacon of light on our church as a steeple. I came to your church as your pastor 16 years ago, and there was an architectural rendering that had been proposed probably about 1993 of a steeple up front on this building. It went up quite high with a cross on it, and in 1993 it was about 110,000 to build. In the year 2000 it was 300,000 to build, and in the year 2006 it was even more, and the price get higher and higher. We said, we could have that steeple. We don't need to build it out of brick and mortar. It could be symbolic of the light in our life. I've had that inspiration for years. It's been like the burning bush that just never is consumed and never going away, and it's going to come into fruition as we place this sign up on our new property. We're excited about that. How wonderful it is maybe you in your life, you've had an inspiration, start a business, go somewhere, travel. You've had an idea of something going on that's been yearning within your heart and life for a long time. It is that burning bush that never wants to be consumed. But it's there for you, it's speaking to you. And suddenly out of the bush comes this voice. When the Lord saw that Moses had gone over to look, he called him and said, "Moses, Moses." And Moses says, "Here I am." He's awakened, he's aware of his divine presence, and he's responding with a yes, and awakening. You may have these inspirations in your life, but until you respond and say yes to them, they're always talking, always there. They're always going to be that little voice, but you never really act on them. You never see them manifest. You never bring them about. Here Moses is saying, "Yes, Lord. Yes. Yes to this thought." And says, "Do not come any closer," says the inspiration with this, "but take off your shoes, because this is holy ground." Here it is, this describing again of a voice of God. And as a pastor, I've got to say, I've been waiting to hear the voice of God. And Pastor, you said sometimes you've heard the voice of God. What does she sound like? What does he sound like? Well, on television we have this Moses in the great movies, That voice, is that the voice of God? Is it Moses? Is that the voice of God? What is it when you hear the voice of God? Are we looking for something literal to put our hands on, our ears on, a sound that we're hearing? And I have all these people saying, the voice of God spoke to me. Really, what did you hear? And again, people are then coveting this experience of an audible sound coming to their ears. Ministers talk about stories of hearing God's call and this booming voice. I as a child felt the call of God. Did I hear an audible voice? Did I hear something booming from the heavens abound? I felt this inspiration. I felt the angel of the Lord. I felt this awareness within my life. I felt as if this was an inspiration, as if a light went off, offering me some sort of insight. This is what I felt, a calling to do. And it's a calling that has never gone away. And I'm going to tell you this, it's been my burning bush experience. Something that's been there constantly, and for every pastor, you've got to have that kind of burning bush experience that's there that the flame never goes out. There's Monday mornings when you want to say, "I quit." There's times that a lot of pastors say, "I'm going to hang it up. This is too hard to do. This is tough. I've been working with people's lives and trying to get their souls awakened and their hearts alive and renewed and helping them in their spiritual journeys, but it seems hopeless, helpless, too hard to do." Sometimes there's so many financial burdens and things that you have as a pastor that seem to be overwhelming, and you want to say, "You know what? I think I just could do something easier in life. Could I sell real estate or insurance, or maybe I'll be an interior decorator?" But there's a burning bush that never goes out. It's that inspiration, it's that fire that's burning constantly within us. That is an inspiration, and that's what's kept me going as I celebrate 38 years of ministerial work. 38 years of traveling around the world. 38 years with different congregations, 38 years with all kinds of different challenges and problems, 38 years from a multitude of people and congregations, but each one, what keeps you going? On that Monday morning when you say, "I give up," there's a burning bush that still speaks to you of this great inspiration. And I want to tell you that in that moment, Moses is impressed then that he takes his shoes off, for he felt like this was holy ground. And let me tell you, wherever you encounter the Spirit of God that has awakened you, you are on holy ground. It doesn't mean that you have to go to a specific place to find holy ground. Some people say, "Oh, I need to go to Machu Picchu to find holy ground. Oh, let me go to this wonderful Tibetan highlands to find holy ground. Oh, let me go to this sacred space. Let me go to Roswell, New Mexico. Maybe I'll find holy ground." Everybody's got this different idea of where it is. I'm telling you, holy ground is right where you are. If you're awakening to the divine presence of God, that's holy ground. What do you do when you find that you're on holy ground? Well, first thing you got to do is take your shoes off. You got to go barefoot. Now that may sound a little crazy, a little strange, because here's what I'm telling you is this wonderful illustration. It's not about that the only time you can be spiritual is when you're barefoot. It's illustrating to us that shoes are a barrier to being grounded, to being connected, to be in a sense of oneness. Doesn't mean that shoes are bad. Doesn't mean that your high heels, your tennis shoes, your slip-ons, your lace-ups. Doesn't mean that your favorite sneakers or Nikes are wrong. I'm saying to you that it's symbolic as a metaphor, again, of that which may separate you from being grounded and touching and really feeling and sensing this is the divine presence. So it is that you go to the beach. How wonderful it is to slip your shoes off. Get your toes in the sand, doesn't it? Ooh, doesn't that feel good? How about it to play in some little puddles of water and get your feet in the mud? Doesn't that feel really good to kind of have that kind of experience in your life? Isn't it wonderful to somehow relax as you have those summer days and you run barefoot through the grass? All these wonderful experiences, what do you feel? A connection, don't you? It's a totally different experience to go to the beach with a pair of high heels on. Trust me, it's not a good thing. Just kidding. No fun to go just run through the grass in a pair of tennis shoes. No fun to go in the mud when you got boots on. The whole experience is enhanced when you take your shoes off and you connect. This is the symbolism for our spiritual lives. Folks, if you are on holy ground, then the time is now for you to connect. It's such depth that says, I need to remove all barriers that are keeping me from fully connecting and being so aware that I am in the divine presence. Whatever it takes, let me rip it off. Let me strip it off. Let me remove it. And that may be some of our beliefs and our thoughts that are holding us back from really connecting with this divine presence of God. Sometimes we have some barriers that are fear and worry and our struggles, and even the decision-making process that we're going through can be something that holds us back. And the invitation in this story is to simply release all so that you can be one with that wonderful grounding. Scripture says you came from the earth, molded from that which is the creation of God. Now to be grounded in that is really a symbolic of sense of being fully aware that you are one with that which you came from. You came from the divine presence of God in a creative way. The very essence of God is deep within you. And the Spirit of God is calling for you in your decision-making process to start with number one thing. When the inspiration comes and you wonder what to do, when your burning bush is there and you're wondering how to deal with it, when you feel this call of God in the midst of your contemplation in your desert times, what do? First, you become one with God. Slip those sandals off. Go barefoot. Spiritually barefoot. Spiritually removing everything. It means to be awakened to the being of being one. There is no separation. I feel the presence, the power. There is no separation. All that is divine is mine. Oh, I love this phrase from the Song of Solomon, chapter 6, verse 3. It says, I am my beloved, and my beloved is mine. Wow. I am my beloved, and my beloved is mine. There's such a oneness. All that is, that I am the beloved. And everything of the beloved is mine. Describing exactly what it would mean when we slip off our sandals, when we start going barefoot, shall we say. When we dig into the groundedness, we suddenly realize there is no separation, that we are. The I am is our reality of our lives. There's a barefoot spirituality that suggests that we need to let go of those confining things, get in touch with our roots. And I want to tell you this. In your life, there is a burning bush around every corner. That is a burning bush which is an inspiration that is calling out to you. And it may be burning and burning and burning and burning, but it's speaking to you constantly. And I want you to honor it in your mind, your soul. Slip off those shoes, those boots and sandals and those barriers, and embrace this moment and be barefoot. When you're making great decisions, the big thing that you begin with is being grounded in one. When you're one with the presence, it's really easy to listen. You know that? When you're separated, you're doing your own thing. You feel like the Spirit of God is just in the way doing its thing. You're not fully aware of how it wants to work in your life, although it's there. You're not awakened to it. You're not grounded to it. There's all these distractions. And that's what those sandals and shoes kind of describe for us, are the distractions of day-to-day life that hinder us from really being connected. And we can't really listen. Oh, but there you'll listen to the voices of every inspiring burning bush as it speaks to you. Listen, and listen from within. Because when you seek help for making those decisions, I want to tell you that the light, the inspiration, the burning bush is right there. And I'm going to tell you this. Here's some good advice. Don't ask God to guide you in your decision-making process. Hold on. Don't ask God to guide you in this decision-making process as if God were some distant being in the sky. Because the light you seek is not somewhere else but where you are. That light is within you, waiting for you to acknowledge. Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is here and now. The divine presence is right within you. It's not something you're seeking and saying, oh God, where are you? Would you guide me? No, it's, oh God, I know where you are. The divine presence within. I allow you to be guided. To myself to guide you, to be guided. Know that where you are, and that in that you know the right and perfect direction for your life. That's right. If you're silent, if you're quiet, if you're contemplating in the moments of your desert where it seems so dry, there's direction for you. It's there. You will know it. It's right there when you listen to that still small voice that speaks to you. I want to tell you this, that Scripture often says, wait, right? And you're saying, instead, Pastor, don't wait to be guided. Don't wait to be guided. What? But it says wait, doesn't it? Wait upon the Lord. How many of you heard that? Wait upon the Lord. I need to wait upon the Lord. And we think, wait, okay. I'm going to give God, what, 10 hours, 5 hours? I'm waiting, thinking, okay, God's going to come anytime, or the Spirit will come. It's not what it means. The word wait comes to us from this very root background of a word that means to bind together. It means sort of plug into the power. That's what it means. When you're waiting on the very divine presence, waiting on the move of the Spirit in your life, you're simply plugging in to the source. It's not a reference to time, but to the depth of your awakening, to the depth of your consciousness. To wait is to awaken to the depth of your inner knowing that knows. And when you waited, that you're connected to the source, you move out. Because guidance is most effective when you're in motion. So your decision-making process, first we said, be centered, be one. Be aware that you're one with God. Number two, as you wait, you're plugging into the source. Number three, you're ready now to move out. And move out? Move out where? Where? Let me tell you this. I find the GPS systems in today's world kind of crazy. Don't you? Because I'd get in my car, I'd punch in my GPS, I'd say, would you take me to this address, give me directions? And it says, start out by turning left. But I sit in my car, and I just sit there, and it says, start out by turning left. And I sit there and say, well, give me all the directions. No, it's going to give them to you as you move, right? And when you start out and start moving left, what does it tell you? Now turn right. And then when you turn right, it says, go 3 miles and turn left again. But it's given to you as it's needed. For guidance is there and it unfolds for you in the right and perfect time. But it requires what? You move, right? Because that sweet little voice of Siri is not going to help you along the way until you start moving. Because it only gives you the step you need as you need it. And so it is in our spiritual GPS that offers you the step-by-step move. As you begin to move out, as you take those steps of faith, there will be wisdom and guidance there for you. It will be there offering you the insight to know the next step and the next turn to take. Oh, but wait a minute, Pastor. And I know that a lot of you have asked me these questions. What happens if I make the wrong decision? Not just me. I could make the wrong decision. Let me tell you this. You cannot make a wrong decision, for every step you take will eventually lead you to your good. Now, let me explain that to you. It sounds a little crazy, because a negative experience will actually lead you to making new choices and having a new understanding. I got a great illustration for you. I had a teenage son, enough said. And as a teenager, he made a lot of choices. I wasn't so crazy about as a dad. Choices that I thought were, sneaking out at night, not such a good choice. Running around, doing some crazy things. Getting arrested for this or that, getting into fights, not always good choices. And then, now today, he's 33 years old, and he's the father of 4. And I go to visit him, and he said, "My kids will never do what I did." I'm like, "Oh, what happened? Where did my son come from? Who took my son? And there's an alien here. My son is this most conservative dad and is laying down the law and saying, you will be home at 9 o'clock. Nope, give me 10. You will not take the car, and you will not be doing X, Y, and Z, and you will not be doing this or that, and I know when you're going to sneak out." He says to his kids all the time. He said, "Why? Because I was there, and I made those choices." And I look back and think, thank you, God, that he made those choices. That every wrong choice was the impetus for him to now make good choices. So were they wrong? Maybe they were oh so right. Maybe they were oh so good and perfect, because they were leading him to be the best father he could be, an amazing dad. Something when at 14 I thought, oh my God, this kid will never make it through, nor will I. All these things, they're called wisdom highlights, called gray hair. Yeah. You think this came naturally? It's product of having a 14, 15, 16, 18-year-old son. All of those decisions, they're not bad. For they formed and made him into the kind of parent that he is today. So I want you to get free from the fear of making a bad decision. Because some of you are like a deer in headlights. I don't know where to go. Left, right, turn, straight, what do I do? And you're just like panicking. I can't make a decision because, God, I'm afraid I'm going to make the wrong decision. If I make this choice, I may be the wrong one. There's choices you can make. You can make some decisions. You might be afraid it might be the wrong one. But I'm going to encourage you not to be afraid of making decisions. Hint, hint. So, just want you to be free from that, to be able to make the decisions in your life and to understand that every decision is important and can be of great value, but here's the catch. The only decision you have to make is this: to begin. The decisions what to do and where to go should not be made, they should only be discovered. But you gotta begin. You gotta start somewhere. So the decisions in your life, if you want to understand how easy they can be, is you just begin. And they'll unfold for you. And the hows, the wheres, the left turns, the right turns, they're going to all be discovered for you as the Spirit unfolds for you. If you are grounded, if you're quiet and listening, if you will hear the right word, and the directions will then come to you. And remember that when you plug into the power source, there is no delay. Did you ever notice that? You take the cord. You plug the vacuum cord into this socket. Do you wait for 10 minutes for the power to go through the cord and then fire up the vacuum cleaner? You don't, do you? You plugged your toaster in this morning. Did you wait for a few minutes after you plugged in the power thing? Power's going to come. Power will be here soon. Power's going to... No. You plugged it in and bam, the power was right there. There is no delay. And I'm going to tell you this, that this is the way Spirit works in your life. If you begin, you plugged into the source, you're fully aware that you're one, and the power comes to you. The awareness that you need, the insight that you needed is there. The insight is yours, and it's now. That's the key thing. It's now. I love this. God is a God of now. Right now. This moment. It's there for you. So move on out and follow those inspiration. Become today's Moses, who sees the light of inspiration and acts on it, and then become the one who liberates and sets your world free. How powerful that can be. So here it is in a nutshell. Barefoot spirituality. Yep. Barefoot spirituality. It enables you to make some great decisions because you welcome the inspiration that's burning within you that never wants to go out. Because you remove all the barriers and you take off those sandals and you become still and you're listening to the things of God. And when the light comes on, the insight is there and you move, 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 move. You don't delay because you understand that God is making a way when there seems to be no way. So today, if you're stressed about making decisions in your life, there's no need. No more stress. For wisdom has given you the guide to welcoming today's answers. Today's burning bush is your inspiration that says, you can do it. Amen.